I've got a new resource pack update with a bunch of new vanilla features, new cosmetic variants for items, and we're gonna go over all the changes. Mojang basically added a system for texture packs to add basically infinite models within one item. That depends on the names that you give it. So there's a whole list of names to choose from. For example, I've got the Order of the Stone Sword, right? Because I'm a huge Minecraft fan, so it's Minecraft story mode reference. So if you want your netherite sword to look like this, you just rename it in anvil, and that works in vanilla if you get the texture pack. First off, a rename for all swords of all tiers. It's the Chef's Knife. Probably long overdue. Pretty standard weapon to have. It could be like used in a horror scene or something. Or since this is the shelf update, I thought maybe you could put it on a shelf. Make like a... Maybe that... I don't know if that works because it's like sideways. It would be cool if you could rotate the shelves, right? No, I guess it's too much. But anyways, yeah, this is the shelf update. You could also put the Chef's Knife in a shelf. Or just hang it on the wall in an item frame. Or just wield it, you know. You got a netherite version as well. It's a really classic type of blade. And one that I'm very familiar with because I am a cook in real life. A special feature for the netherite and iron Chef's Knife is that if they're enchanted with any level of fire aspect, they turn 1000-degree hot, which is a meme, obviously. I only did it for netherite and iron, so you can, well, that's the meme, basically, right? You can hang this on your item frame or whatever. And then netherite, because, you know, it's the final tier, so everyone's gonna eventually walk around with this. So if you got a Chef's Knife and you got fire aspect on it, it's gonna glow red hot, because what 2025 needs is this meme back, apparently. Yeah, new rename for all the tiers, copper included as well. Very exciting. I'm very glad we have copper. The Chef's Knife, enjoy it. One more special variant of the Chef's Knife. It's only for netherite, because netherite's the final tier of the game. For me, it's like an extra reward of obtaining netherite, right? You get to the final tier of the game, suddenly you get this whole bunch of wacky cosmetics to choose from. So only for netherite there is the Pretty Scary Knife, which just looks like a chef's knife, but it has a little bow on it. The name Pretty Scary Knife is a reference to the Pretty Scary update, obviously. And the design was actually submitted to me by Newbie101, a fan of mine, and he helped me with the animations in my latest rap. I made a rap. It's pretty wild. A rap dissing the Minecraft community. Whatever, check it out. It has some animations made by him, and as a thank you, I wanted to include a rename of his choosing, and this is what he chose. You know, he wanted a chef's knife with a bow on it, so I designed chef's knives for all the tiers, and then I put a bow on it for the Pretty Scary Knives. This one's for you, buddy, or for anyone using the pack, because I think this might match a lot of people's vibe, right? It's pretty funny, like the horrid chef's knife, kind of like a butcher vibe or like a horror vibe, and then you got a bow on it. It's pretty wild. Not for me, but maybe for you. Moving on, another netherite sword rename, the Elucidator. I don't know, dude. I'm just trying my best here with the lore of the universes. This is from Sword Art Online, which is a pretty popular universe. So if you want the legendary Elucidator or Elucidator, I don't know how to say it. I would naturally pronounce it Elucidator, but let me know, I guess. Yeah, just rename a netherite sword to this, and it'll look like that. Pretty sweet, right? It's kind of like a rapier, I think, like a sleek sword, anyways. Then we have the Zenith from Terraria, the most powerful weapon in Terraria. Also, it's really iconic because in the game it's crafted with multiple swords into one, right? So it's like the final, like the god of swords almost, right? The king of swords. A name that instantly evokes Terraria to me. There's no other swords that I know of that are called the Zenith, and I really wanted it. It's been suggested to me a lot. Like, there's a lot of Terraria fans, and I love Terraria. I've already done a few more Terraria weapons, but they were maces, and for me that's a lot easier to justify adding them because you know, this basically requires me to remake the entire weapon from scratch. You know, add a 3D model to it. Terraria is never 3D, so any weapon that I take, even if I just take the literal palette, you know, it still requires a lot of... It feels unique, right? I don't really want to rip Terraria's assets and just put them in my game, right? Just because it's a pixel art game, right? There's no HD weapon that I can interpret in a pixel art style. I can do it for the hammers, right? Because there's like a 3D version that I can interpret. But for the Zenith, you know, I just had to... I tried to remake it from scratch. This is my version of it. Basically, Terraria Zenith in my style, you know? Like I said, I didn't want to just rip the assets. Funny how that goes, because I will just do that for Minecraft Dungeons, right? I guess somehow that feels less intrusive. But Terraria being like a completely different universe to Minecraft, it just... I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. So I retextured Zenith, and I won't be doing this for all the Terraria swords, because like I said, like the pixel art sprites, you know, it feels kind of like... It feels more steely than you know, doing God of War weapons, for example, right? But the Zenith being like the literal peak, the #1 iconic sword in Terraria. It's also been suggested to me a lot. I've added it, so here it is. Rename a netherite sword to Zenith. Looks like this. Smash fools with it. And then now we'll move on to Frostmourne, a weapon from World of Warcraft. A game I have not played, but I know a lot of players who, you know, are really into it. There's a huge player base. I don't know much about WoW lore, but it seems like maybe the #1 most iconic sword, or like maybe even definitely the #1 most iconic sword. I had a lot of fun texturing it, and that might already be a name that players just name their sword, right? Even if you don't know about my pack, you might already have a sword in a chest somewhere. It's named Frostmourne, because why not? It's a legendary iconic name. Wanted it in my pack with a custom look, and this is it. Then I have some Yu-Gi-Oh weapons, which is pretty random, but you know, Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty iconic. Felt like a cool universe to add some variants from. So this is the butterfly dagger, which honestly is beautiful. Like, I would just use this even if I'm not a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, but so I would still use this. I think it's it's really nice design. So good job, Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess, right? Designing a lot of unique weapons. So the butterfly dagger, it's not really a dagger, but that's what it's called in Yu-Gi-Oh. Then we have the legendary sword. I mean, that's a pretty big name, just the legendary sword. This is what it looks like, also based on Yu-Gi-Oh cards for the big Yu-Gi-Oh fans. And I think it looks nice. It's pretty funky. Then we have Nothung. And I don't really know if this sword is called Nothung or if this is Nothung's sword. The Yu-Gi-Oh card, I would say it's pretty vague and like, I don't know, I'm trying to like research the lore, but whatever. If you call a sword Nothung, it looks like this, which is also a sword that appears in the Yu-Gi-Oh card. So I don't know if the name is like technically lore accurate, so I guess let me know. But yeah, another cool sword you can have. It looks kind of like aquatic, doesn't it? If you were like Namor of Atlantis, you might rock this sword. Anyways, a mace variant also based on Yu-Gi-Oh, the magical mallet. This is a full-on card of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's pretty small, actually, but I like it. And yeah, you can bash people over the head with this. It's a unique little thing. I think it's fun. You know, again, one of those things. If you're not a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, you might enjoy all of these. I mean, I think they're just really well-designed swords. So really valuable assets to my pack. Then I have one miscellaneous Totem of Undying rename. It is the Uno reverse card. This is super lame. It's been suggested to me a ton, like having a Totem of Undying be a Uno reverse card. There's like tons of texture packs that do it already. And I thought, why not? I'll have it. But I don't actually really like the texture I made. I don't know. Maybe I'll change it. But for now, there's a rename. And maybe it's temporary texture. This is just a real Totem of Dying. It works fully. If you rename it to Uno reverse card, it changes to this, which technically isn't even an Uno reverse card. It's like a Uno reverse wild card. But I did like the design the most. So there you go. Okay, next up, some weapons from God of War, which is a really legendary franchise. I mean, I don't game. I just play Minecraft. I'm super lame. But I've now seen all the cutscenes of God of War. And I must say, it looks pretty damn epic. I mean, God lore is always cool. It's a huge franchise. It has sustained through time. So I'll gladly add some weapons from it. So here's the Blade of Chaos, the first one. In third person mode, it has the chains around your arms. See that? They even dangle from the back. They're attached to the back of the sword. This is also how it goes in God of War in the game. You know, the chains are like tied to him. Kratos can throw him in the game. You can cue him. Look, you can throw the swords. But it's not super immersive. But the chains are there, and I think that's a nice detail. And then we also have the Leviathan axe, which is pretty, I guess, standard looking axe. But as you could probably guess from this contraption that I built, the weapon upgrades as it's enchanted as well. And I did this according to how it goes in God of War. So it should have all the sprites, you know, that the weapon goes through as you level it up. To my understanding, from my own research, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't played the game, but the weapons don't visually upgrade every tier. Like the Blade of Chaos stays the same for level 1 and level 2. So that's the same for me. If you enchant it with sharpness 1, it doesn't change yet. But then if you enchant it with sharpness 2, it changes its look a little bit. So it goes from this to this. This is your final look if you have it enchanted to the max with sharpness. The fully realized Blade of Chaos from God of War. Of course, you wish you could dual wield them for the full look, but for now, you just use this as a main weapon. But yeah, it starts off like this as a normal netherite sword, upgrades to this at sharpness 2, then sharpness 3, sharpness 4, and here's 5. Should be completely consistent to how the weapon upgrades in God of War. And then the Leviathan axe upgrades at level 1, 2, 3, 4, but not 5, which I thought was really strange, but that's how I think how it is in God of War. So that's how I did it as well. So you get a netherite axe, you rename it to Leviathan axe. It looks like this, then you start enchanting it. Sharpness 1, it changes a little bit. Sharpness 2, it changes a little bit more. Sharpness 3, starting to look pretty regal. And then at sharpness 4, this is what it looks like. And then if you further enchant it, you know, it doesn't visually change, but you can still further enchant it. You know, it stays like this anyways. 2 cool new weapons, whether you're an axe guy or a sword guy. And I guess you don't even have to be a God of War fan, because they just look really cool. I mean, I would definitely use this sword just to see it upgrade as well. Like, I think this is a really satisfying mechanic actually in game. But we'll move on to the next set of renames. This one's kind of crazy. It's only for wood and for stone. I don't know to who this is useful. I guess it's mostly useful to in like roleplay scenarios. Maybe we'll do something with this in the Barely Lethal data pack, right? Be on the lookout for that. But yeah, all the wooden tools can now be renamed to all the wood types. Pretty fun. I mean, I don't know, you know, who is using this? Nobody's renaming their wooden tools, but I guess if you want to, you can. And then now we have it, you know, before we didn't have it and now we do. So it's another feature, you know, I thought I'd mention it. And also, all of these extra wooden tools for all the wood types have damage dependent variants as well. You can already see my shovel has started chipping. Get a fresh one to compare it to. So as the durability drains for all of these textures, their texture changes as well. So this was like an absurd amount of work for renames that nobody in vanilla is going to use. But yeah, here it is. Wooden tools can be renamed to all wood types, which is kind of crazy. You know, bamboo and nether woods too. And then the stone tools cannot be renamed to all stone types, but there's a few. So there's andesite, diorite, granite, deep slate, and black stone. So it's a few of them, not all of them. These are the ones that I thought fit, and we can compare them because they are like painfully similar, I guess. But, you know, I wanted to have them. This is a normal stone sword. I get the andesite sword. You know, it is a little bit lighter, right? And then the diorite sword, even lighter. The deep slate sword, a bit darker. And I guess black stone is generally, it's pretty unique. All of these too have damage dependent variants. So, I mean, this will take me a while to, like, get the durability down. There you go. My blackstone pickaxe has just started chipping. You see that? So it is pretty cool, even if it's for, like, a small amount of players. Then, for all tools of all tiers, I have included a rename. It's just sword or pickaxe, like no prefixes. Like in default, it's called diamond pickaxe, right? And I have a ton of variants. For example, Hellenic pickaxe, right? That's like a prefix you can have. But if you have no prefix whatsoever, so you get a diamond pickaxe, remove the diamond part, it turns into the vanilla pickaxe texture, which is, I don't know. If you love them so much, why are you even using barely default? But I guess if you really don't like the tools in barely default, then you can also revert them back to the default models. It was pretty simple for me to add, so I thought, why not? Because I don't even have to add a model or a texture. I can just tell the game to use the vanilla texture again. So it adds literally no weight to my pack to add this. So yeah, that's available now too. All the tools of all the tiers can be reverted back to that default texture by just calling it, you know, shovel, pickaxe, you get it, hoe. Then I have a few random miscellaneous new platable renames. I have a whole video about the food update in my pack. You can basically rename any food to plate, or there's variants, like there's colored plate, so rename it to magenta plate, or like glazed magenta plate even. There's like a lot of variants, or rename it to board. Basically all the foods have 3D models, but I kind of realized I can also extend this system beyond foods. Right? Like, I know it makes no sense to put a stick on a plate, but why not? Why would I not make... So, I don't know. I've kind of realized that the food update of barely default can just be the everything. The platable everything update, right? And then plate can just extend to a bunch of other display options. Anyways, I've started doing a few more random items that can be platable. Here's the spruce cone, which in my pack is a spruce sapling. So, a spruce sapling in my pack has been changed to be a flat item sprite. But then if you plant it, it'll still look like a sapling, which I think is a pretty fun dynamic thing to do. And then I also added an extra growth stage for saplings, because apparently they have an extra growth stage. Who knew? Mojang knows. They've added it, but they have it unused in vanilla, but in my pack it's there. Anyways, yeah, spruce cones, birch catkins, which is the birch sapling, and jungle seeds, which is the jungle sapling, can now be plated. Does that make sense? Maybe. Maybe not yet. But here it is. I really like this model. I think this is really nice and unique. I don't know how nice it is to chew on a pine cone, but you know. I also added platable variants for seeds and cocoa beans. The reason I added it is because for me it was really simple. Like, seeds are flat. They don't really need a 3D model, so I can just use the flat item sprite on the plate. It was a really simple item for me to just add, right? To just have it covered. But you could also just put seeds on a brown plate, for example. And then on your farm, maybe you can label a barrel with this. You know, it's a bit of a different look, especially in my pack, because seeds have been changed, like this single little seed, which is fine because I've like stack size dependent variants, right? So the more seeds you get, the bigger the texture gets, which is really fun. But it does mean that if you put a seed in the item frame, it looks pretty pathetic. So, you know, this is a nice fix for it, I guess, if you just plate the seed, right? Make it a platable seed, and then you can still utilize seeds as you normally would. But with the added bonus of having a colorful background sprite, in this case blue or brown or any of the plate colors, right? By the way, I thought maybe this could have some like decorative implications in Minecraft as well, with the shelves coming up, right? You could put plates in shelves, but I don't know. You guys will have to experiment with that. And something that I've been experimenting with, something kind of like the food update where every food can be platable, right? What if every food was barrelable? So this is just a regular old apple, and you just rename it to a barrel, and then it becomes this item, which you can just eat because it is an apple, right? But the point of this item is that if you put it in an item frame on top of a barrel, it looks like a barrel of that food, which I think is really valuable for decoration. Costs you one of that food type, and you can still access the barrel this way. I recommend using an upside down barrel, because in my pack, the barrel, when it opens, there's like a lid, a 3D lid, which kind of just pops through it. But if that doesn't bother you, you know, then just do it however you want. I've only started doing it for a few food items, one that seemed essential, fun to texture, you know, it's a lot of work. I've done carrots and golden carrots, because that's just the easy recolor at that point. Apples, golden apples, enchant golden apples, and I've also done it for cod, which uses the OG fish barrel textures. That's a fun thing to include again. And then obviously that texture is recolored to be the cod color. So a barrel of fish, also a huge like decorative item that I've always wanted. So now it's here in vanilla. Just catch any old cod, rename it to barrel, and there you go. And then for people using the barely default data pack, where we've added 150 fish to catch, there's also a Nostalgia Hills biome, programmer art, old alpha Minecraft vibe in a biome on one island in the modern game Minecraft. It's really cool. And if you fish there, you don't just catch regular fish, you catch the OG fish item. So if you catch that, you can also rename that to barrel, and then you get a barrel of OG fish, which is just a recolored version. I mean, that's the original like fish barrel sprite that Mojang added and then never used. So something to mix with your cod barrel if you're using the barely default data pack and you visit the Nostalgia Hills hills biome. Oh, I guess I have a few more general changes too, not really named variant dependent, but the dye textures have been changed in vanilla Minecraft. New textures by Sarah Boving. It's not Jappa making everything anymore. Sarah Boving is in full force making new textures, and I think they're beautiful. Of course, I have stack size dependent variants for dyes, right? Like if a dye reaches above 31 items, the texture changes to a bigger one, and then you get this dynamic effect in game, right? Where if you gather more and more of that item, then the sprite in the chest changes, which is a really cool dynamic thing. But the dye texture changed, so I had to update my bigger dye sprites as well. So this is them, me trying to imitate Sarah Boving's style. Tiny little update. If you're interested in the stack size dependent feature, there's a full video on my channel as well. Then lastly, I have some more renames exclusive to the barely default data pack. They don't have to be exclusive to the barely default data pack, by the way, because there's a really clever command where you can just give yourself any Minecraft item. Let's give ourselves an apple, and then you can change that item to look like any other item. So if you want a barely default data pack item in your world, but it isn't the data pack world, you can give it to yourself with these commands. For example, we'll change the fish name here, which I use to give myself the Nostalgia Hills fish, to diamond apple. And then let's see, it's gonna give myself a normal apple. This is just any old normal regular apple, but it uses the diamond apple texture, which is a new item that we've added in the barely default data pack. All the item states for it work, even though it's a normal apple, it now completely functions visual wise like a diamond apple. Look, if you eat it, it has the eating states that I've added. You can now even rename this regular apple that uses the diamond apple look to plate to get a plateable diamond apple in your world. So everything we add with the barely default data pack can also be used decoratively in your world. You just gotta know the item name, right? So you can properly execute this command. I'll put this command in the description, okay? So you can just copy it and change the items that are referenced here. By the way, this isn't even the barely default data pack world. Like these staves that I have here, they're just dried kelp. I can eat them. They don't function at all. But it's proof of how powerful this concept is, because I've also added new renames for the 3 staves in the barely default data pack. We have the Drowned King staff, there's the Nameless staff, and there's the Necromancer staff, which are weapons you can get from the 3 Lich King bosses in the data pack. There's a whole separate video about those bosses as well. And they drop these staffs, which are cool, but I figured once you get one, that's enough, right? I guess unless the durability runs out, but you can get mending on it, right? So if you start getting multiple, they'll start like clogging up. And I thought I'd add a simple rename for it so you can kind of use it decoratively. It's a sconce. Look, this is just a regular old Nameless staff, which I guess is stackable because it's actually dried kelp. This is what it looks like normally. And if you rename the sconce, it looks like this. So it's also just an alternate look. If you want more of this like bulky look to a staff, sure, it'll be fully functional in the data pack if you rename it to sconce. So that's one thing, it's just a new visual look for the staff. But sconce is also a system in my pack that I have for a bunch of items. For example, if you got an iron nugget, rename it to sconce, it'll change to look like this, which is an item you can put in an item frame behind a torch to decorate a torch. You probably get it. You can now also use the staffs to decorate torches. And I think it's pretty cool because they added green fire, right? That's like the same kind of fire that the Nameless one has. Like I said, these staffs could definitely start clogging up your inventory, which is just a shame. Like these bosses should feel special, and if you have the staffs, they should always like feel special even if you have multiple of them. So now you can use them decoratively, and afterwards, even if you need it, you can just take it off the wall and still use it. I think it's a cool thing. Like if you're making like a Nameless temple build or whatever, definitely something I would use my leftover staffs for, or you know, just use the staffs with this funky bulky look. And I did that for one more item, or I guess one more group of items. All the butterflies in the barely default data pack. Look, this is them. They're dried kelp, so they're edible. I told you, this isn't the data pack world. I'm just doing this because Minecraft is like super modular now. Like it's great. Merging is awesome. Check out my rap and leave Jeb alone. Anyways, yeah, same thing for butterflies. Just to reduce clutter, like we add new items. Like if you kill a butterfly, you get a dead butterfly item. That's this item, which is fine, fun. Put it in an item frame, decorate with it. It also is a dye, so a dead orange butterfly itself can be used instead of orange dye. For example, the copper butterflies are raw copper ore. So if you don't want them, if they clutter up your inventory, you can just smelt them and you'll get some copper ingots out of them. Like we always try to think of ways to like declutter your inventory. Just turn them into torch decorations, right? And most of these are pretty simple. It's just the butterfly wings spread out in a big way. I try to make the special butterflies a bit more unique. In the case of the torch butterfly, it has extra wings. I don't know, it's a torch butterfly, so maybe it's like at full strength or something when you combine it with the torch. I have no idea. And then we have the pitcher butterfly using the pitcher plant's beautiful color scheme. Gets a little bit of extra special details as well. You can use this maybe in a fairy build or something. Then the creaking butterfly, only found in the pale garden, gets like some extra eyes on it. You see that? Pretty cool. The skull butterfly, pretty simple. The torch stem just gets like a bone color, and the rest of it is pretty bare. It is kind of like a lace butterfly, you know, so like adding too many details wouldn't really make sense. The chorus butterfly, one of my favorites, looks like straight up dragon wings. I think this will be really useful to a lot of players. It's pretty simple. It has some custom decoration, so it's not just literally the butterfly wings stuck to a torch, because I think that's kind of lazy. And then we have the wither butterfly. That's pretty strange, but I like it still. It's styled very much after my wither rose model. I think it's really pretty. And if you take it into the nether, just like my wither rose texture, at least the item sprite, it turns blue. So if you use the wither butterfly in the nether as blue, I don't know if that's useful, but it's like, I don't know, that's barely default lore, basically. And then we only have the copper ones left, which are probably my favorites. If you look at the copper butterfly item, you know, you can kind of see the wings coming back in the design. Like, they just kind of fold and extend around it, and they create this kind of like advanced, like, kind of like dwarven look, maybe. I thought this would be really useful to players who are doing a copper build, like an industrial build. So yeah, all the copper butterflies, rename them to sconce, and I'll change to this item, which looks good in an item frame. Here it is, combined with all the current torch types and all the oxidation states that the butterfly can spawn in. A lot of decorative potential, I think. And I know these are like relatively weak additions, right? Like sconces, other butterflies. It's not going to fit everyone's playstyle, but for the people who can use it, that's a nice way to declutter your inventory. So really valuable to me. And I guess that's it. I guess that's the entire update. A lot of changes, a lot of new stuff, a lot of exciting additions, a lot of secrets about Minecraft uncovered, right? You guys got this whole command now. Like in a non-data pack world, you can just get any barely default item. It's a pretty big deal. You should still get the barely default data pack. It's by Cyclops and me. It's awesome. It makes Minecraft what I think it should be, hopefully with the same balance that vanilla kind of has. So give it a try. It's world dependent. You can just load it onto your world, and then that world will have the data pack. It's not like a mod where your entire client is like taken over by the mod. Data packs are really isolated in a world because of how modular Minecraft is, which is evident by this new command that I've been using. Alright, I've been Mickey Joe. Get the texture pack, get the data pack, subscribe to the channel, check out my rap. It's real. I know it's crazy. Like the video, or I guess dislike it. It doesn't really bother me. Do whatever you want. Just let me know what you think. I just want feedback. Comments are great. And I don't know, have a nice day. See ya.